Hi, you've reached the Talking Racewalking podcast. It's all about race walking, of course. It's talking to race walkers from around the world about race walking. Join me, Noel Payne, a amateur race walker in Canada, as I talk to elites, Olympians, record holders, masters walkers, and anybody who's out walking as fast as they can. Hi, so this is a section where I'd actually be talking to someone, a race walker. So this is where you can come in. If you know a race walker, you're a race walker, and you have an amazing story, I want to hear from you. So reach out, let's chat, let's get walking and talking. Hello, everyone. Another episode of Talking Race Walking. And we're always talking race walking, but sometimes I venture out and I talk to folks who can help race walkers, or it's a different type of walking. So it's all connected. And well, it's morning for me here in Ottawa, so it may not be morning for you. But anyways, I've got someone here who works on probably one of the most important parts of race walkers' bodies and their feet. She works on their feet, on feet, but has more of an impact than just the feet, the foot. So I want to introduce you to Paulette Hebert, a reflexology therapist here in Ontario, in Canada. But if you can't get hold of her, I want you to think about reflexology and find a reflexologist in your area. So I want to introduce her and let her tell you about what she does and how it could help you. So welcome, Paulette.
Thank you very much, Noel. Happy to be here.
Yeah, no, I'd love you folks listening don't get to see the video, but the fun part of doing these podcast chats is I also get to sort of see the other person I'm talking with as well, which is a neat experience, and then share the audio conversation with you all. So let's start off with just describing for those folks who don't know what you do or about you. Tell us, so first, Paulette, tell us how you sort of found reflexology and give us a quick sort of rundown or quick summary of what it is.
Fantastic. Thank you, Noel. Well, first of all, I come from a background of sport. And so as a fitness instructor in the 1980s, I discovered reflexology. Someone from Europe I was interacting with mentioned this. And so I looked into it and I had the opportunity to experience it firsthand. Reflexology is a hands-on, non-invasive, holistic therapy, and it's been around for thousands and thousands of years. Many indigenous tribes around the world have been using it as a form of healing because the body has its own mechanism of self-healing. So as a therapist, I do not prescribe, I do not diagnose, I do not cure anybody. What I am is a facilitator. Now, you mentioned feet. Feet are definitely the most common form of reflexology that is practiced, but you can also practice it on hands, on ears, on the face. There's also other branches of reflexology. And essentially, some people describe it as a foot massage, but it's much, much more than that. We do have a map in our world of reflexology, have a map of the body on the feet. And so we would be working every aspect of your foot. So working everything from your brains right down to your toes. And we would be applying gentle pressure on reflex points. And what I mean by reflex point is if you were to put your hand on a hot element, you don't even need to think about it. Your hand will come off. That's a reflex, okay? So when I am working on reflex points, and by the way, there are over 7,000 reflex points on the foot. On the hand, you have about 5,000. So just imagine that I would be working 7,000 reflex points that by the end of that hour, you would be extremely relaxed because what it does, it's sending a message to the brain, getting the brain to get off this fight or flight mode that we are in, sometimes 24 hours a day. We think we sleep, but are we really sleeping really good quality? So it's getting the brain to go into what we call the parasympathetic part. And that is rest, relax, recover, repair, rejuvenate, rebalance. So for an athlete, this is really important. Recovery is the main key. I mean, we think of competition, but in order to be able to get there and be in good form, recovery is key in any training. It doesn't matter which sport you're in. Recovery for an athlete is everything. So if we're able to give you something that first of all feels really, really good. I mean, imagine if you've just finished a 10-kilometer walk, your feet are going to love having, this pampering.
Exactly.
Um, and so we say in our world that the feet are your roots. And if the roots are not in good condition, or if the roots are not happy, if the roots are swollen, if the roots are achy, if they're injured, the tree suffers. So you can keep training and you can keep competing, but if there's something that is off, your whole body will feel it. And you can compensate. Body is amazing at compensating, but that only goes so far. And at some point, you're going to start having issues. So if an
So would
athlete,
would
yeah,
you, so would you say like that for you in reflexology, like the foot is almost like it's like a sort of a door or a window into connecting with the rest of the body, to like connecting with the brain to sort of stimulate other areas. Is that kind of how you would describe it?
definitely. As I say, we have this map with 7,000 reflex points. So if I'm working, for example, someone who has hip issues, lower back, I can be doing specific focus work on the reflex points along the spinal line, from the neck all the way down, and just helping all of that to relax. If there's any swelling, we can work on that area so the tissues can repair quicker. So the fact that you're able to relax, rest allows your body to recover.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think it's something athletes probably we all focus on the training in terms of like we don't often include serious rest or put as much attention on the rest and recuperation and that type of thing. It's always about what's the next workout or what can I do to work at this area or that type of thing. But I agree. I think what we don't do as well as
and
we
and
should is what you're talking about.
exactly. And we do hear about athletes that are training, especially when they're getting into that peak time of the season when they're competing, or going to the Olympics or working towards the Ottawa Marathon, which is coming up in 2 weeks. And how many times do we hear an athlete saying, you know what, suddenly I had to step back. I had to not do so many kilometers. I had to focus on recovery. And so reflexology is a really, really good way to do this. Sessions are about 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So you would get a 60-minute break. Your brain, your body gets a 60 minutes of going into this zone of relaxation. Um, we say that one session of about 60 minutes represents about 3 days of rest, not sleep, but rest. So imagine if your body is tired, it gets a chance to rebalance all the fluids. Your body gets to eliminate all the toxins that are built up in the tissue. So when you get back to the track or to the gym or whichever area you're going to for training, you feel rejuvenated. You feel like you've got that edge. There's something more. One big thing for athletes and I love this about, it's holistic. The big, big thing for athletes, reflexology is drug free.
Right.
We use your body to get into that nice state of recovery and of repair. And that makes a very big difference. because a lot of people are saying, there's a pill for everything. And every time I'm going to see a doctor or a specialist, I'm getting another pill. I don't want pills anymore. Well, this type of therapy is extremely natural that way. Your how it's going to react to the session and how it's going to repair itself. So a person who is doing reflexology regularly, have it as part of their training program, might be able to do it every month, every 6 weeks. Someone who suddenly has, an injury, um, might have to come in a little, more often or
Yep.
more frequently at the beginning. And as soon as we get the body into that healing mode and things are progressing, then you can wean yourself off and come back to this, 4 to 6 week pattern. If an athlete, and this happens often, when you're at your peak ready to go, how many times have we heard of an athlete getting a cold the
Yep.
day before a competition? It's because they are pushed at their max and their system is really, really fragile. So, if someone is feeling a cold coming before they're in full-fledged, cold mode, you could come from reflexology just to get your immune system to be boosted. And that makes a big difference. I've had people with allergies that every summer, they just want to stay inside and not do anything because their allergies are so extreme. Being able to tap into their immune system and get all of these symptoms to be, to quiet down and the body to rebalance. So it's a wonderful type of therapy. It can be done on, babies to people who are in their 90s and 100, people who are athletes, or people who are simply looking for wellness, something to add into the wellness basket.
I,
Um, it
I
feels
love this.
good.
And I think I wanted to jump on just the fact too that you're talking about how it is a treatment session. And I think sometimes when people think of treatment sessions, they're thinking of we're always focused on sort of the physical aspect of it, just the physical. And we tend to separate physical and mental aspects of things. But I really liked how you're talking about the fact that you are getting a treatment. You're connecting with the body and the brain, which are basically the same thing. But as well, it's that sort of a pause in your training sessions that I don't think we all take. And I want to mention as well that not only do I talk to Paulette, not only am I presenting her here, but I'm getting sessions as well. So I'm experiencing what she's talking about. Um, and I can tell you right now that, yeah, it is very relaxing and it is exactly that. It is a treatment session, but it is a chance as well to stop and pause. It allows
Yeah.
your body to sit still for a moment, your brain to relax, and all those things together can be a real benefit. And before I forget, we will mention at the end of the podcast, before I let Paulette go as well, that here in Ottawa, we have our International Ottawa Marathon every spring. And Paulette, I think you've been doing it for a few years now, but you're going to be at
Yeah.
the end as people with their tired legs and feet and bodies exit after running. You are going to be located somewhere in that sort of that little recovery area there to give people a taste of what reflexology. Is that right?
Exactly. It's not myself. We are a whole group of
Yeah.
reflexology therapists from the Ottawa region, and we get together under a tent. The great thing is that they make us part of the medical team,
Oh, I love
and
it.
so yeah, they treat us with white gloves. So we have our tent with our name on it. Treatments are free to all runners. You have to sign up, obviously, sign a waiver. And so people get what we call a mini treatment just to see how it feels, get the information about it. And then if you are from Ottawa, you can, take the business card from the reflexology therapist that's close to you, not from Ottawa. We can help you, give you the links to find people in your region. And this is what's so exciting about it is that one year we had people from France, from a few African countries. We had people from Spain, from Argentina, from Mexico, from
Oh, wow.
Boston. people who were running the Boston Marathon, and their big takeaway was like, wow, we came to Ottawa and we discovered reflexology, and we're going to go home and put this, make this part of our training. Um, One thing I'd like to mention, Noel, you know, if you are an athlete and you are seriously looking to include this in your training and there is a financial investment in
Yeah.
it. I would definitely encourage people to seek out therapists that are certified and registered.
Okay, of
And
course. Yeah.
yeah, because there are people who are doing reflexology and didn't necessarily get all the training,
Right.
but someone who is certified and registered means that they have met all the criteria, practical, theory, and professional standards, and they are held to those standards in terms of a profession. And when you're talking athletes, you can't just roll the dice. We look at your training, we look at what you do, we look at what other modalities that you might be incorporating, either acupuncture or chiropractic, massage and so forth, and we work with all of that.
The
Um,
complementary, like a complementary. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
It's complementary, and that therefore it gives you that wholeness that you're looking for. Yeah. So it is very important to be working with someone who is certified.
Now with reflexologists too, I know there's different sort of treatments you can get, and looking at putting reflexology into your training or finding time for it. Are most reflexologists, are they in a clinic? Do you have to go to them, or are some people mobile? Because I know, and I'm asking this question knowing that Paulette has come to me, so I'm kind of poking her for the answer. So, but I want her to say it.
Uh, there's a variety. Some people do work in clinics. For example, I work in clinics certain days and I offer mobile services. Some people work out of their home. So it really, it's people to do their research and see who's around. And if ever they can't find, just get in touch with Knowles. Knowles will give me a heads up and I can definitely get you that information.
Perfect.
Um, yeah, I wanted to add something about that, and
That's all
it's
right.
not.
That's the way my brain works as well. Perhaps like
Oh,
you need to be pressing on my feet this morning to get my brain to work. So,
yeah. One thing I wanted to mention, when I started getting my certification, obviously I was doing feet. I was going to work with athletes, and feet are the most common one. And then, ding ding, made the realization I can go and get certified for the hands because
right. No, because most
athletes,
people think of this as just something on the feet. So yeah, what else can you
yeah.
get into?
So, for example, the hands, we have the same map of the body, just a little bit smaller areas, depending whose hands. But we can do the same type of work that will have the same type of effect. And for example, with an athlete, you might get sprains, you might get fractures, you might be in a cast for a while. So it doesn't mean that you have to stop doing your reflexology. On the contrary, find someone who's certified to work on the hands or the ears or the face. Hands and feet are the most common, but if you're, for example, in a cast, God forbid, I can still be giving you that healing power, working on your hands.
Okay, so that's cool. So there is another way to sort of tap into those
Yeah,
points other than just the feet, because I think people think reflexology and they automatically think feet, which I think is the most common. But
yeah.
there's
And I mean, for the face, I'll just give you an example. And Knowles, that's your next treatment, by the way.
yeah,
Because, a lot of
I got lots of face to work on.
A lot of people have issues with hips and lower back. So one thing is the way I work, I call it hybrid reflexology. I'll work a bit on your feet and then go work on your jawline because jawline is affiliated with all the pelvic area, the hips and so forth. So you can combine, you can do combinations like this. What is wonderful about reflexology is I can really cater this session to your needs. And those needs might be different session from session, and that's fine. I cater to what you need, and that's the beauty. Yeah.
No, I love that. I think we've talked about sort of what it is, how it can benefit athletes. We've talked about sort of like the frequency in terms of depending on what your training is like, um, and the fact that it isn't just the feet. We talked about all the benefits. What about,
Well,
is it safe for everyone? What are the considerations that someone should take into account? Like when, when you're doing any sort of treatment, what are the considerations that you should think about?
Very good question. It is safe for everybody, but again, before I start a session, I would be checking with the person in the chair saying, okay, what is going on this year, right now? If you had issues before, has that progressed? Is that not doing anything? Um, there are, if someone has had cardiac issues, uh, we might have to modify what we're doing in the session. If, for example, someone is pregnant, you might have to modify a bit. If someone has had a fracture, so we have different types of protocol to make sure, and in certain cases, I have refused treatment in someone who had an infection and needed to say, okay, before we do reflexology, you need to go back to medical attention
Get to
and
get
get
this sorted out first.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I had a runner who came to see me the other day and she's having pain. And I had to say, well, okay, you need to maybe consider going to get an x-ray and make sure you don't have a hairline fracture. Because if I'm working on your foot, you've got a hairline fracture, it might not feel good. And, you need to get that confirmed. And from there, we can work. I would like to maybe take a second and go through the benefits a little bit more. I
Yeah,
mean,
please.
it feels good and it is relaxing, but what is happening in your body is that, first of all, it enhances circulation. And what I mean by circulation is not just blood,
Okay.
but all of the lymphatic system, getting your kidneys to filter out all those filtering organs, gallbladder, liver, spleen, kidneys, intestines, filtering out all the toxins that are building up when you're training and competing. If you have physical pain, for example, knees, hips, lower back, we can work on specific areas to help the tissue around those bones to recover a little bit more. If you have someone who has a lot of swelling, there's certain things that we can do to help that as well. So pain management, definitely, relaxation. It will also help someone in terms of sleep quality.
Right. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And we know that, if you can get a full night's sleep, like proper sleep, where you get all your REMs at the right place at the right time, and you can do that for 2 or 3 nights, good God, you wake up the next morning, your energy is different.
Oh,
You
trust me, I can attest to that because I've had the both sides of that plate. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah.
Exactly. And if you have more energy, you're digesting better, you're handling your stress better. Everything, your body is functioning optimally. And that is the main goal, and that is the main takeaway from reflexology. It helps your body to perform better.
That is a perfect way as we come to the tail end of this podcast. I haven't said a whole bunch because you've been saying you've been answering all the questions I had jotted down. So it's perfect. But yeah, this is perfect. So I think this is the point of why I was bringing you on, so that people are going, this isn't about race walk. Well, but it is. It's touching on how you can improve your performance, how other things you can bring into your training, into your life that will improve your experience, improve your performance, um, and you can enjoy race walking in a healthier, injury-free way. So that's really why I wanted to bring Paulette on.
I
Um,
really appreciate Knowles because we need to get the word on. As I mentioned at the very beginning, this type of therapy has been around for thousands of years, but it's still very new to North America. It is one of the fastest growing modality. People are discovering it and saying, OMG, should have been doing this a while ago. Um, I would encourage people to at least try it. Try one session, see how it is. And I bet you after one session, you're going to be saying, when can I book again? It's a win-win-win because it's relaxing, it's therapeutic, it's helping your body, and you feel better.
I love it. I think this is perfect. My brain works at a high RPM, and I'm going, you know what? This is perfect too. It really ties into race walking as well, which is a very old form of locomotion in terms of walking that most people don't think about as a sport. They don't consider it as a means of fitness that they can easily tap into as well. So I think the two of them go well together in terms of, oh, reflexology. Well, why haven't I tried this? Exactly. And why have you gone out for a walk? Consider going out and making it work. It's all these things are perfectly tied together. I want to reiterate the fact that for anybody in the Ottawa area or anybody coming out to the Ottawa Marathon, when you cross that finish line, think about reflexology because there will be a tent to try this out. Think about that. Go online and find a reflexologist in your area to just check out who's there as an option. So I've really loved this opportunity. If people are looking to get hold of you, Paulette, I'll put something in the podcast notes. But
Yeah.
how do people get hold of you if they want to talk to you or find out more
Yeah,
information?
the best way, either drop me a line with email or, send me a text. And as soon as I can, obviously send me a text, give me your name so I know who you are and, a reference that you heard the podcast. And I'll gladly get back to you. And yeah, if you're not from the area, I can help you find someone in your neck of the woods. And I thank you so much, Noel. I look forward to our next session on Monday.
Me as well. All right, folks. It's been an amazing chat. For Paulette, just you know what? Google is the easiest way. You just type in Paulette Hebert and then reflexology. She will pop up. That's her website, and you'll have all information there about to get hold of her. Or just contact me and I will connect the two of you. So
I'll make it even easier. Reflexology. You'll find me.
there we go. Perfect. Easy enough. All right, folks. Enjoy your day. Get out there, get active, take care of your feet and your body, and look forward to the next podcast. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
That's it, folks. The end of the podcast. No walkers have been harmed in the recording of this podcast. And of course, at the moment, we have no sponsors or supporters at this point to fund all this amazing podcasting. But if you're out there and have a race walk company that produces some sort of race walk apparel product or something you think race walkers would love, get hold of us. We'd love to have you on board. Give us a holler.